All right, here's the gear flat lay for the Chicago Marathon. Reckless running singlet, my favorite reckless running singlet. Gooder sunglasses, the Wrap G's. I'm gonna wear a pretty simple, Manzella set of ear warmers here. I think these arm sleeves are by Cannondale, and I wore them because they just match the shoes. But I've had them for a while. I'm gonna wear some of the throwaway gloves that I picked up at the expo. There's my race bib. The race bibs are huge this year. Rabbit Speedster half tights, mainly for the storage, the comfort, and the fact that they won't bounce around. What you can't see within the half tights is 3 each of Martin regular 100 gels and Martin Calf 100 gels. The Saucony Endorphin Elite is the weapon of choice today, and the Injinji lightweight no-show toe socks, as always, as my standby sock. Things that you cannot see that I'm not going to be wearing during the race. I've got my throwaway set of sweats here to keep warm. My checked bag for the finish, so that I have some warm clothes and some food to change into, and that's of course the glide that I'm going to be wearing. You don't need to know about that. Anyway, that's what I plan to race in. We'll see how it goes. Good morning. Today's the day. I've had my 1 cup of coffee to get things moving, and I'm about ready to get all suited up and get out there, put my sweats on, and just count down the minutes until the start. I am not going to bring the GoPro on today's race just because I'm going to go full send and I don't want to be dealing with the camera or anything, but hopefully some friends are going to grab some pictures and some videos that I can use to add to this and show all you guys how my race was from other people's point of view. Thanks for following along on this journey, and I hope to have many more journeys for you after this one. I'll see you after the race. Well, at least I look the part, hopefully. All right, now I'm gonna cover myself in sweats. I'm walking the 0.4 miles to Grant Park right now, and it's about 5:30 in the morning, and I've got plenty of time. I'm just not going to be sitting around. The phone says it's 43 degrees Fahrenheit right now, which is beautiful. I guess, quick math in my head, that's between 5 and 6 degrees Celsius for all of my non-American viewers. Beautiful running weather, and I'm all snug and toasty in my layers, so I'm just looking forward to a good day. Well, we're done. Let's effing go. I did it. Goal was to get sub 250. I got 2:49.29 according to the app, and just pretty much even pacing all the way. Started to really feel it around mile 24. Had a little bit of a headwind, but that's when you're supposed to feel it. And it was all mental there. It was like, this is what I came for, so I had to effing do it. All right, there's the whole race kit, shoes and everything. CCMF. All right, it's race recap time. I'm back in the hotel room after having just taken a shower, and I'm about to take a nap after this. Had a nice brunch with friends after the run. Sorry if the camera works a little bit shaky. I did not bring my tripod with me to Chicago. So here's the finisher medal. It's the proof that I actually did it, right? But yeah, look up the results. My bib number was 1311, 2:49:29, which is more than a 5-minute PR, and I am just over the moon with that result. My goal was 250, and that's what I got. And I'll just kind of go through the race. All right, so my pacing plan, I've been training at a 6:25 pace. Some of those runs were a little bit faster, knowing that a 6:29 would get me a 250, and thinking that actual race day pace would come out to 6:27 or so. But with the plan on the first couple of miles being between 6:30 and 6:40, just to kind of ease into it and not dig into the tank too much early. The first mile was actually more of a 6:44, but that's because I pulled off to the side in the first tunnel to, get my last number one restroom break, but where there were no spectators. Got that taken care of, so I wasn't racing in discomfort. Still came through in like 6:44 in the first mile. By the time I got to the 5K mark, my average pace was down into the mid 6:30s, which means I was still making up for that restroom time, but I could tell by how I was feeling and the pace I was running that it was going to keep getting closer to goal pace. The average is going to keep getting closer to goal average if I just kept doing what I was doing. Sure enough, I was back on near goal pace by 10K and by 15K, and I settled into a rhythm. Now, I don't want to say I was just gliding because I had to keep the foot on the gas the whole time throughout the whole marathon. It wasn't one of those things where I was gliding for 18 miles and then had to push for the last 6 or 8 miles or the last hour or so. It was like it was a conscious effort the whole time, laser focused. The greatest neighborhoods in Chicago are in the first half. Boys Town was probably my favorite before you get back into the city proper, near where the half is. There should be some good pictures of the half, and later on in the race, my friend Brian, whose husband Ashley, who's another running friend of mine, was racing today. He was out there going back and forth. He got 9 miles in just trying to get pictures of all of us and cheer us on. But by the time I crossed the half in 1:24:48, by glancing at my watch. I'm pretty sure the official split is pretty close to that. And I was starting to feel really good by then. As with all of my marathon pace runs, the first few miles seem like I'm working harder than I should to get an effort that's actually slower than marathon pace. But once I settle into it, I find that I'm able to maintain that pace a little bit more automatically. I don't want to say more easily, but more comfortably. I'm in the zone a little bit more, and I was starting to really get hyped up by that point internally. I was laser focused for the first half. The second half, I was like, I'm more than halfway done. Now let's get it. Let's go after it. I'm on pace. Any lost time or any slow time, I had making up. So now I just had to keep on executing. That continued through 15, through 16, and then eventually through 30K, which is 18.6. I think I hit that in 2 hours and 1 second officially. It looked like 2 flat on my watch, but that was a great pace. That was probably kind of my peak pace, because a 2 hour 30K is about 6:26 pace overall. Now, I do think some of the mile markers and kilometer markers were not where I was expecting them to be by a margin of seconds. And that's not because of the GPS thing in Chicago. We all know the GPS is horrible. But it's because I was running a steady pace, and sometimes those markers would be 20 seconds after where I expected them to be. That was more of a feel thing for me. Anyway, I went by the mile markers and the kilometer markers and used my GPS watch as really just a timer, and did the math in my head because I knew I could not rely on the GPS. Excuse me. That's brunch coming back at me. But I was feeling great through 30K, even through 20 miles where the course where you don't get as much crowd support. The course starts to weighing off a little. You're kind of in an industrial area. Still plenty of people there, but then you're really focused, and you can tell everyone around you is just zoned in. Once I got past 35K, which is around 22 plus miles, then I was really of the mindset, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make my goal. I just have to keep on doing what I'm doing. And I was letting that emotion drive me. And I was pumping up people around me who everyone else was also really focused. But when people get pumped up and I can pump them up, it helps my race performance too. So that's what, the last 4 miles was for me, is when I would pass people, I would be trying to give them some encouragement, saying, it's all right, 4 effing miles and we're done. So I was really enjoying that part of the race, even though there wasn't as much crowd support. And I was still feeling in the zone. The fatigue was building. It was getting there. And I knew I was getting to the part of the race where it's supposed to hurt. So I was all right with hurting, and I wasn't going to run that much of a 250 without getting the 250. On the south side of the course, just past mile 23, where you turn back north, there was a bit of a headwind. And it wouldn't have been too bad if it were an hour earlier. But at that part of the race where everything's starting to add up, it did have a palpable effect. And some of the other runners I know who were out there gunning for PRs, I can tell they were a little bit affected as well, where they might have dropped 10 seconds per mile in their pace. And I was starting to feel the fatigue. The hurt was there, but it wasn't like a hurt like I'm hitting a wall. It was more like I've been running hard for 2.5 hours, and I've got less than 20 minutes left to go. So that was really my driving force. I was maintaining the pace, or maybe even a little bit slower, but I was working harder to do it, and I was giving myself permission to do that work. Apparently, I looked better than how I felt. Brian was at just past the mile 25 mark, and he caught some great photos of me there, and I was smiling and waving at him and everything. Part of that was because I was still passing people wholesale at that time. For the second half of the race especially, but a large percentage of the race, I was passing people left and right. I was in the B corral, so there were a large number of people in the A corral who started ahead of me, and I finished ahead of a lot of them. So I think I could have used a qualifying time that got me to the A corral, but I didn't run any races within that time frame, mainly due to COVID. So I basically started at the front of the B corral and was still passing people the whole race, aside from a handful of people who just found a kick at the end. 800 meters to go. I knew I had 4 minutes until 250. So, that's an 8-minute pace. I knew I was going to get it, but it was only like 97% sure. It's never 100% sure. And sure enough, when I made that right turn, the right on Roosevelt, where there's the big hill, which wouldn't be big in any other context except for the fact that you've ran more than 25.5 miles, and the last thing you want to see is a hill after all that flat. Past the 400 meters to go mark, and again, I knew I was going to get it, but I couldn't let up. When I turned to left on the straightaway, looking towards the finish, I could hear the loudspeaker saying it's a celebration day. We're celebrating a new world record. And I heard that Kelvin Kiptum ran at 2 hours and 35 seconds right there. And I was pumping my fist saying, like F yes, and all other expletives that I don't want to say on this video. Came through the finish line, 2:49.29. And people were doubled over, people were hobbling, people were catching their breath, but I was screaming and high-fiving every volunteer I could, and just screaming, let's go, and just all about it. That finisher shoot walk was a victory lap for me, and I was just over the moon. And I've kind of had that riding for most of the day, and as I'm about to come down from that, I'm about to take a nap. But this training cycle, those of you who subscribe to the channel and have been following me for all those training runs, all those miles, all those shoe reviews. Thank you. It's good to have a good product for that cycle to give. I guess I should do a quick shoe talk. Saucony Endorphin Elite, of course, did not disappoint. It felt like it was going strong the whole way. It kept giving back, stayed energetic. I will say, as a marathon shoe, it was a great choice for Chicago. I don't think I will use it as a marathon shoe for any marathon that is not a fast-paced marathon like Chicago, not a PR effort. If I were to run like something like Berlin or London, Tokyo, absolutely, I would bring this, or maybe a fast beach marathon if there's no wind. But if I were going to run something hilly, like Charlotte, my hometown marathon, or even New York, I might look for something different, just because I would be doing a marathon pace that's a little bit slower. If I wanted to finish well, that is. Those wouldn't be PR races, and I really think at my PR marathon pace, that is kind of the bottom end of the wheelhouse for this shoe. It felt great at that, but I think if I were running like 640s, it would still keep giving back. But, you know, I might want something a little more pliant on my foot at that point. Maybe even the Hoka Rocket X2 would be great for that. Certainly the Endorphin Pro 3, which I've run in plenty of runs of that length. I mean, I won a marathon in those, which was a lot slower marathon. I don't think I would take this if I ran Elderby again. But yes, as an A race shoe, absolutely. And for half marathon, absolutely. Even the shorter stuff. I mean, it's just so energetic. And I only didn't feel as well in it around mile 24, but that was probably just me feeling fatigued, not anything with the shoe's lack of energy return. So that'll be it for the shoe talk. Thank you for listening to my marathon recap, and thank you to all of those who are watching this video. And I'm going to get some new ones out there. I've got some new races already lined up and some different goals to switch things up. So stay tuned to the channel, and I will see you on the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ding the bell for notifications. Thanks, guys.